So great overhead views of the circuit there, and that's the downhill run from Dunlop through La Chapelle and down to Tertre Rouge, one of the most iconic of the corners at Le Mans. It's a double right-hander. It goes on forever, and then Liz brings us on to this wonderful, wonderful straight with the poplar trees.
Yeah, this bit of the Mulsanne straight is really special. I mean, this is the piece of history that every driver looks forward to being a part of. And I remember the first time that I came out of Tertre Rouge and onto the Mulsanne, and it was just an incredible experience because you can just feel the history in it. You're on the same track as so many amazing drivers and cars have been on. So it's a very, very special experience.
Corvette Senna finally making their first stops. They've actually gone a lap longer than the Astons. We're on lap 13, but Liz, we're still 47 minutes of the race gone. We've been used to seeing GT cars going the full hour.
We've seen so many pit stops already so early on in this race that it's very interesting. I mean, yeah, we're 45-50 minutes in. That's about right for a lot of GTs, but still, I mean, we've seen almost the entire grid pit already, bar the GT2 cars. So this is definitely a lot quicker than we're used to seeing.
This is the lead Corvette, of course, we're looking at, Jan Magnussen. He stays on board. Just seeing if they're doing tyres. They're fueling at the moment. They haven't got any tyres out, Liz, so I wonder if...
007 Aston has just come into the pits as well. That's quite a few laps after the 009. I mean, I'm sure they've tried to plan that as best they could.
Yeah. So out goes the Corvette. On the pit lane, on board there with Mags, I believe. 007 car still sitting there at rest. That's in second place at the moment. Carl Wendlinger on it. You're not seeing it on the screen at the moment, but we're seeing it below us. Out goes the 007. That's the second of the Gulf Astons. So that'll just change as we see. Perhaps there's Brabham out there. He's going on for another lap though, Liz.
Yes, he is, yeah, but he's already been in, so actually, but yeah, they've timed that really nicely. Actually, they've made sure that they had, you know, the right amount of space, didn't have to back a car up like we saw with the Corvettes earlier, but 009 car pushing hard.
So basically, we've finished up now with all the major LMP1 and P2 runners have made stops, all the GT1 runners have stopped, but of the GT2s, only one car has stopped, and that's the Virgo Motorsport car of Tim Mullen. I think he's just leaving the pits now, so they've obviously decided to get that stop over with. Tim stays on board, Tim Sugden, and of course Rob Bell, the defending Le Mans Series champion, on board that British-run Ferrari F430.
Well, of course, the GT2 cars can go quite a bit longer on fuel than a lot of these bigger engined, you know, more fuel-burning vehicles can go. So, you know, we would expect them to come in a bit later. But still, I mean, the big story is how soon the LMP1 cars were pitting. Half an hour into the race, very early. 9
laps for the first of the Peugeots, 9 laps for the first of the Audis.
And for how soon a lot of the petrol cars actually came in, it makes you wonder if maybe they weren't running that low on fuel. We'll have to see sort of where we are.
So there's the Astons going through. They've actually joined each other, running in formation, those two Astons. They're going to be behind the Corvette still. But what we're not seeing at the moment, LMP2, huge battle still going on between Blake and Elgaard. It's been going on for the last 5 laps, and there's only 0.8 of a second between them, and they maintain that gap through their pit stop cycle.
Kurosawa in the pits. This is an exciting team here. Brand new team to Le Mans, new car to Le Mans, new drivers, everything. Very exciting experience for them. This is the university car, isn't it? Tokai University. So this is a great car to watch, and we'd love to see them carry on and make it. But it looks like they're being pushed into the garage. They've
obviously got more work than they can do in the pit lane.
This was a big bite to take, really, to come to Le Mans.
This car, those who watched our qualifying coverage, you'll remember the team manager is Professor Yoshimasa Hayashi. Now, Dr. Hayashi, he is the man who designed the Nissan engine that took Mark Blundell to that fabulous pole position here in 1990 for Nissan, and Mark's never forgotten that, we've never forgotten that, and Dr. Hayashi's decided, obviously, they'd like to try and do it again. The team is entirely crewed by students from Tokai University. The car itself was run at Fuji and Sugo in the aborted Japanese Le Mans series of last year, but it's quite a famous car, this Courage. This was run as we said in Japan for a couple of seasons, so it's well known in Japan, but it's a new engine, YGK, and Carlton has been absolutely fascinated by the fact that YGK are manufacturers of generators.
Yeah, they do turbine engines, and we were wondering what is under the hood. They've been very secretive about the whole thing. What I do know is that unfortunately for them, they had to start at the back of the grid not even sure why that's the case.
Yeah, well, Carlton, they've just pushed the car into the garage. If you want to know what it is, it's a V8, 90-degree V8, all aluminium. But it's not so strange, because one of the most iconic engines of Formula One in the 50s and 60s was Coventry Climax. Coventry Climax was a fire pump engine manufacturer.
Well, there you have it.
We've just recently seen the Ferrari, JMB Ferrari come in for its pit. Very, very tidy pit stop for them. Looked routine. They've gone back out. Obviously, that car had quite a big accident in qualifying, which they worked very hard to rebuild. And they've said they had a little bit of understeer this morning, but other than that, the car felt spot on.
You want rebuilt? How about this front end damage to the Lola MG? And would you ever get this in Formula One? Having that tight a look at all the settings, etc., on the suspension, tremendous. It's a big party out there, and we're privileged to be part of it. Mark, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I was sorry to interrupt you, Carlton. Liz, I was just going to ask you, why would Tommy stay in the car? He's probably got an hour's rebuild ahead of him.
Well, you know, I think the team likes to assess what's going on first. They probably just said, let us get in there and see what the story is, and then we'll decide. A lot of times that's what will happen, is before you've sort of made all your decisions, you keep the driver in the car for a minute until you've sort of figured out the extent of the damage. My guess would be that car is going to take a while to fix. I mean, that was a big hit, a lot of damage. You know, it's going to have pushed itself pretty far in there.
Want a bit of glamour? Well, we'll look at this. The Golf cars, they're out there and they're pacing beautifully round together, and they're 3 and 4 in class at the moment, with the Corvettes of Magnussen and Gavin, the official factory Corvettes, leading this class.
Get your cameras out. Here's your photo opportunity of those Golf Astons.
Now, after all the speed differentials, lap differentials in qualifying, all 4 of those cars, the 2 Corvettes and the 2 Astons, are all running 51s. Well, they have been during the race at various times, so they're all on the same race pace.
Well, Corvette's got a title to try and take back at Le Mans. Of course, last year the Aston did win. Corvette has won for quite a few years, and I think they're definitely out here to prove something and say, hey, we're back to win. So they're going to be holding on to those front positions as best as they can.
Well, thanks to Wayne. He says, great to have Le Mans back on Eurosport. He's found a way of viewing it somewhere. Not quite sure where he's based, but he's
on the television.
He's a happy boy. He says he's watching it on the old Astra satellite. It's a huge dish on the side of his what I'm sure is a very, very pleasant residence. So the rolling continues as far as the pit stops are concerned. And look at that 24 car, the Talamas machine, red and gold on our guide. It just came out as white. It couldn't be any more different. Plenty of bling makes you sing, and look at this. It's firing at the moment. Another Japanese entry. The Asiatic countries really are taking a huge step. We've got a Chinese driver as well taking part. Talk about taking part. Well, it's not about taking part, it's about winning as far as these boys are concerned. At the moment, looking like doing just that. Peugeot are in the comfort zone. 322, a sub 322 and a half. This is the race, don't forget. We're not talking about qualifying. That sort of pace would have been more than good enough for pole last time by. What on earth is going on? Beating last year's pole by 4 seconds during the race.
And of course, this is 4 seconds off their qualifying time as well. So one would be willing to say they've actually back a little bit. You know, they're cruising around at 322, which is more than enough, like you said, to have beaten the pole last year. So this is just a phenomenal change in pace in just 1 year. Everybody's got to remember.
Oh, 2 cars stopped. They almost got there. That was really, really tight. It was.
This is just showing the difference in the speeds between all the cars. We are seeing a lot of traffic now. This is about the time when all the lapping of the different, classes starts to happen, and this is when a lot of the accidents we'll see will go on.
One of the spikers being eaten up. They're just going by one of the factory Corvettes as well. Happy time for them, but we'll get pictures in a moment of those 2 stopped cars at a very, very dangerous right-hander. That 90-degree turn that's claimed so many prisoners. There's that Ferrari, just nicely repaired. Keep away from it. It's a new paint scheme. They've been doing that overnight. Threading it beautifully, you've got to say. Montagny, more than adept at this, and doing a great job. They've got some real stars on board the Peugeot crew, Peugeot diesels, and, well, to be fair, none of them are trying to outstep each other in terms of their profile. It's great to see them all so relaxed, and I've never seen Villeneuve, for instance, so happy.
Yeah, I think a lot of these F1 drivers are really enjoying sports car racing. They've wanted to have a go at it. They're running out of the front at a race like Le Mans, and I think they really think it's fun. They really enjoy these cars. They're just out to try something a bit different, and it's nice to have them involved.
Well, Aston Scott saying the race has been held on Father's Day over the last couple of years. Well, he's obviously enjoying a Father's Day himself. He must be a dad if he happened to mention it. If you want to join the chat and ask any questions you like, and we'll do our best to filter our way through them, you click on or you post in eurosport.yahoo.co.uk. You go to the message boards, you pick out Motorsport, go to Le Mans, and you'll find the Race Weekend Live thread, and we'll do our best to have a quick look through. Thanks Rogue Soul as well for saying Audi and Peugeot, the LMP1 race. You're absolutely right. Will it be interesting? Well, we're certainly hoping it is. It's fascinating at the moment. We're not quite sure, Rogue Soul, whether it's going to be a race just between the Peugeots themselves. When they start racing, that's going to be fascinating, if that's the case, because they will want to sort out amongst themselves who's going to be the top dog on the podium if it comes to that. Can't really see them getting a 1-2-3. That man, Villeneuve, we were talking about him just a few moments ago, he's desperate to get on board. Almost looking zen-like there in his lust for the car.
And it was Jacques Villeneuve who was so impressive in the wet last year when we watched him in practice and in the race.
That's true.
Torrential conditions, and he was just incredible. We could really see the skill that he's developed from F1 there.
Yeah.
Just, you know, making the Peugeot look like it was on the dry, really.
Yeah, and he carried that car all through the night. That was the most impressive thing. His first ever night racing.
Yeah. Just showing the skill, really.
Just looking down the pits, the 44 Crucilla Lola Mazda's just come in unexpectedly. The team wasn't ready for it. They've obviously got some problem there identifying it. And the fact is, though, it's a miracle that car's even started today. That's the car that Hideki Noda rolled into a ball on Thursday night, and we all thought the worst, not only for him but for the team as well. But what a job they've done, and once again, congratulations to Lola. They're got their laminators over from Huntingdon. They brought a portable autoclave over. They repaired the chassis, had 2 cracks in it. Anyway, the car's going out again now, so it survived the first hour of Le Mans. That is already a huge hurdle. So just looking down
Sorry,
yeah, after you, Liz.
Oh, well, the Lola Mazda's gone back out, so we're not sure exactly what's happened there. You know,
well, they
fairly quick stop, but not planned. So
once they realised it was in, they fueled and tarred it. So I think it was just probably having a Japanese
maybe just a bit of a miscommunication on the radio system there.
Comes the 97 car. That is the 97 is Malucelli. Bring that car in then for its stop. That's leading the category at the moment. Just about to lose that lead back to Jaime Mello. Jaime Mello on board the Rizzi Competizione car will take over the lead in GT2 at this Le Mans.
So we are starting to see quite a few of the GT2 cars coming in for their pits now. Much longer than what we saw, half an hour longer than a lot of the LMP1 cars. So we're really seeing the difference in the fuel economy here based between the GT cars and the LMP cars.
Yeah, they're showing it as a second stop. I don't believe that's correct, Liz, because
I don't think it is.
Malucelli, he was leading the category. He couldn't have been with 2 stops. So I think that's probably just a mistake on the transponder time. So it looks like it's Mello, Van Overbeek, Johannes Van Overbeek, and Richard Leitz. That's our top 3 in GT2 at the moment. It's Magnussen, Gavin and Brabham, top 3 in GT1, and in LMP2 that battle between Blake Monen and Elgar continues, although Jeroen has managed to pull out almost 2 seconds over Kaspar now, so that one's starting to settle down.
Number 22 car coming back out of the garage. This is the Tokai University car. It looks like they're back on the floor. Hopefully going to get the thing started, so not a huge problem for them with any luck. Be nice to see them back out on the track running. We do have another car still in the garage though, and that is the Lamborghini. It's been in for quite a long time. This is a long stop for them. So
yes,
we'll wait to hear what's happening.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because Kex is out there and he was desperate to get some news on it. Thanks for your post, Kex. If you could just tell everybody, your mates and all who might be watching this, that which of the Eurosport channels you're actually watching it on. They're just catching up on, I think, the finale of the Dauphiné Libéré on International. And if somebody's watching out there, perhaps in Ireland, they might be just getting a bit miffed. We are live for the entire 24 hours, and if you could help out by just telling them on the message boards as well, that would be superb. Thanks to everybody who is on the message boards. It's been great to have you along. Jag Urash is there, so is Lightning, and the rest of you. It's great to have company on such a fantastic event as this. Yeah, I just hope that Lamborghini does get back out fairly sharpish, but they've got, is it the back end that's off it at the moment? That's the business end, and let's just hope it is not something serious, because they had a terminal problem last year. The J-Lock outfit, the Japanese Lamborghini Owners Club, came here, spent a fortune, shipped the car. I think they actually flew it. Goodness only knows how much air freight and excess baggage that must have cost. So
Well,
they got here and the car just didn't make it, unfortunately.
well, this year has been one of the best showings we've seen from Lamborghini. They've been, you know, really quick, really pushing hard. A lot of people had a lot of hopes for Lamborghini this year, and you know, a very strong lineup. So it's unfortunate to see them in the garage already. I think a lot of people were really hoping that Lamborghini might, you know, hang in there with the top front runners.
Well, last time out at Spa 1,000 kilometres, it actually was leading the race for some time after the Astons had all sorts of problems. But Peter Cox and Vasilov, they just couldn't keep that lead going. They finished third in the end. It was a podium finish, but it has been going exponentially stronger and stronger every time. It's run, of course, by Hans Ritter Engineering out of Germany. So that car, I think, just keep watching that, because they are getting on top of it now.
So Dickie's saying he's loving the message boards, having a chat out there. We're loving having you along as well. Aston Scott's there, so's Phil H. And look at this. Just how difficult is that to thread through at these speeds? It looks like they're hardly moving at all. And just look at it as he juices up. Frank Bieler having a look on the inside of the 3 car. This is a battle for pride here.
I think it is, yeah. Side by side down the straight.
Oh, lucky Luke's lost out, doesn't he? Bieler's got the position.
That's a great sight,
Yeah.
this early on. Well, they've got to kind of keep the pace up, and if you are the quicker, then why not just have a look by?
Yeah.
Remember Bieler, Pirot, the winners, and Werner, the winners the last 2 years here. They just love to do it again.
So there's a warning being handed out to the 97 car. I imagine that's for not moving over quickly enough. That's all we can think of at the moment.
That was
Scuderia Italia.
Right, it's something to do with the pit stop. They've just gone out. Matteo Malucelli bought that car in, and they had a pit stop, so I think something must have happened there.
Perhaps they had too many people on the car at
Yeah.
one time, or, you know,
But
yeah,
would you
that's
get a
very
warning
possible.
for that?
Fueling, it could have been somebody
Yeah.
on the car during fueling.
Interesting crew that. They've run Astons for a long time. They swapped over from Ferraris. You've got to kind of remap your brain, really, if you're going to start getting around those two different machines.
Yeah, very, very different.
Also, the only Ferrari here on Pirelli tyres. Interesting.
Oh no! Look, the Chamberlain Synergy number 19. It's not the newest car out there, but certainly one that well, has graced us for an awful long time. And Hugh Chamberlain, huge as he's known, he is a big lad as well. He's going to need a big heart if he's going to cope with this race this year. It looks like they've got their problems. We're going to take ourselves a short commercial break, and we hope to have your company live here in Eurosport. There's the overall classification. Looks rather familiar, does it not? Peugeots and Audis, the top 6. Welcome back. You're live at Le Mans. Peugeot still in dominant form. The top 3 places held by them. Looks like 2 at the moment, but believe me, there are 3 out there as the Matmut tries to thread its way through one of the chicanes on the back straight. We're going to talk to Jos Verstappen, who's just climbed out of the Porsche RS Spider, and he's the man who put that on class pole. Tremendous effort by the Dutchman. Things have been going great for the Dutch generally, having beaten France 4-1 in the football in the European Championship. There is Hugh Chamberlain, his car running very, very slowly out there, waiting for that to come in. We've got Jos waiting though to have a chat about the Porsches.
You are leading the 2, so it's quite good beginning of the start.
Yes, no, I'm happy, because we're leading. But the other car is very close behind us. So it will be a very tough competition during this 24 hours. But we have the speed, we know that. And but the main problem is stay out of trouble. And that's our main goal.
This car, the Porsche Spider, is really new in Europe. It looks really fast here. So how's the car is doing here?
No, we knew we have a quick car. Top speed is good, but especially the cornering speed of this car is so fantastic. And what is very important for this race, the car is comfortable as now. No tricky issues, no big oversteer, no big understeer. Very well balanced, and I think it's fantastic to have this car and to race here in Le Mans.
Thank you, Jors. Good luck.
Jos Verstappen there, enjoying life at the top, at least in the class LMP2. Jeroen Bleekemolen on the 34 car at the moment. The other RS Spider has got Elsgaard aboard. Meanwhile, we're on board with one of the Peugeots here.
Yeah, I was just before the start of the race, I was talking to Guy Smith about the Porsche, and as you know, he races that car for Dyson in the ALMS. He said it is such a difficult car to get set up, but once you get there, he said it's probably the best car he's ever driven. He said it's certainly better than the Bentley in which he won here in 2003 at Le Mans, and the guy said that's Dyson obviously been taking a while to get used to the car. He's very impressed at the way these guys are doing it. Of course, he's not in a Porsche this weekend. He's a little bit jealous, I think, that they're out there, and the way they're going at the moment, if they can run for 24 hours, they're going to be probably in the top 10, you reckon?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've now figured out where the reliability lies in Porsches, so that's a big part of it. And you know, they've made a smart decision to wait a while to come to Le Mans until they had it all dialed in.
Yeah, just staggering their pit stop strategies here. The 8 Peugeot comes in off the lead. Pedro Lamy has just about had enough of being pressured by Montagny, so he's decided to come in, and they've got a strap issue out there. They're having difficulty undoing their own straps. Modifications, it looks like, because those straps look like a bit of a mess. He certainly loosened them up. So Lamy comes in, Montagny takes over the lead out front, and there'll be a swift change here.
Looks like Stefan Sarrazin about to get in the car, it looks to me.
You know, you like that pink helmet, don't you?
Suits him.
Yeah, it does. It does. Thanks ever so much, by the way, for those on site. Here's a question for you, Mark. Does the team reckon that the diesels will have their own class in the next couple of years? We suspect they won't be here, Mark, don't we?
Well, who knows? Audi have already said their future's not necessarily with diesel. Peugeot, I think, will be, but what sort of diesel it's going to be? Let's just have a look at this pit stop quickly. He ran for 9 laps in the first stint, 11 this time. So, Liz, that's beginning to work up towards the 12 we're forecasting. Maybe 11 is going to be the pace for the race.
I think it won't be far off that, really, because they would have given themselves a bit of a window just to figure out their fuel and be safe at the beginning. But really, about 2 laps off that is about right. Stefan Sarrazin heading out now. Fantastic driver. It's going to be exciting to see what sort of time Stefan's going to put in.
Also, crucially, no tyre change.
No tyre change.
Double
Not
stinting.
a big surprise, really. I mean, it is a bit cooler. You know, I'm sure most people will be double stinting, if not triple stinting, in this conditions.
They couldn't do that last time by last year. They had to change the tyres every single time.
On the Peugeots,
the balance is much improved. If they're double stinting, let's see how it rolls out there with this fresh race rubber. Sorry, not fresh race rubber. Previously, one sector has gone round in terms of their stops. It'll be great to see the longevity of that. Thanks to Tom B for that question about the diesels. We think they may well be considering changing some of the rules just to kind of narrow the gap between petrol and diesel. They couldn't really have a separate class in LMP1. It's just nice to keep the mix out there, but they have got a little bit of an advantage, perhaps too much at the moment. They did, for development purposes, give them a helping hand with what they could do to the cars, didn't they, Mark?
Yeah, the petrols were given 3% extra restrictor size this year, but the ACA has already said we agree it's not enough.
Yeah.
They hadn't actually anticipated how much more development was coming from Peugeot and from Audi this year, so it could be as much as a 10% larger restrictor for next year.
So thanks to Tom B for throwing that one up. If you've got any other questions for Liz, driver perspective, always very welcome. It's great to have Liz Halliday on board with us here.
Carlton, just look down the timing screens, go down to the pink there. Blake Comenon and Elgard, they are still tied together, and this has been incredible. This has been since the start of the race. We're now, an hour and 12 minutes in, and they're still going at it hammer and tongs.
Yep, the 31 car is the quicker of the two. They're lying in second spot at the moment, just stops filtering out and all that kind of thing. Best lap so far for them, sub 3:40. That is very quick out there.
That's very quick in the race for an LMP2 car. I mean, the times each year for LMP2 seem to get quicker and quicker. So, but that is a very quick pace during the race.
What we're just looking for is the third place car, Warren Hughes in LMP2. He's running third at the moment. That's in the 45 Embassy car. Great little car, that very pretty colour scheme.
And here comes the 9 car. It only went round one more lap, didn't want to pit them together. It is a long vehicle. I'm actually always surprised as he wrestles with his straps to get them loose here. I'm always surprised at just how diminutive these cars are. When you see them on their own, they look like they must be enormous, but when you get up close, they really do shrink in front of you. They're very cute.
And a very good view there of what goes on just before a pit stop. These drivers are very well prepared. You know, they've undone any drinks bottle they would have had. The radio comes off off at the last second, stuck back onto the helmet so it doesn't get in the way. Belts are loosened up, so he's ready to jump straight out of the car when he comes in. Really pushed it into pit lane there as well. Really, absolutely to the last minute for the brakes.
That was Minassian on the escape. This is the 9 car that's actually in its box now. You can see how much Minassian was putting through the back wheels as he slewed it on the way out there, determined not to lose a single inch of advantage.
Absolutely. Well, this is what it's all about. I mean, you can really gain time in a race like a 24-hour race, being quick out of the pits, quick into the pits, not wasting any extra time that you can get away with, really. And something as easy as, having a good run up to the pits, it saves you that few bit of seconds. That adds up over 24 hours. It's very important.
Well, who's watching the whole race, says Britt Slot, and well, he says he can't do it because unfortunately he's got to work tomorrow. Well, fortunately is the word, because this is going to be one heck of a race. We're expecting that it might even turn into something of a classic. It will have to get a bit of a mix, though, between the Audis and the Peugeots. At the moment, Alain McNish is up into 3rd place as these stops start to filter through. He's surely going to have to come in a moment, but he's on his opening run here, and I just wonder when he's going to come back. Well, we'll wait and see.
Wait, the answers itself, won't we? So, Christian Klein at the moment.
We don't know is the answer.
Right, our driver change is starting now in Peugeot. Christian Klein on board the number 9 car, Jacques Villeneuve's on board the number 7 car, and Sarrazin now on board the number 8. We're still waiting for the Audis to come in, make their changes. So all 3 Peugeots have made their second stops. The Audis have yet to do that. The LMP2 battle is still going on like crazy. The Corvette's still leading GT1. They're running quite a bit apart now. Ollie Gavin's 13 seconds behind Mag. They work together, and in GT2 there is still only 0.7 of a second between the 2 cars there. And incidentally, Johannes van Overbeek has got back past Jamie Mello. So Van Overbeek.
Yeah, Johannes has really come on in the last couple of years. He's gotten much quicker. He's really improved in the ALMS. I enjoyed watching him last year. He's learned a lot from having such, quality co-drivers like he's had. And I think that he's going to really be a force to reckon with in the future. And just now he's showing what talent he has. Jamie Mello, a fantastic driver, and he's out in front, pushing hard at Le Mans. It's nice to see.
And 2 factory drivers behind them, of course.
Exactly.
So Hansler. Johannes, as the best privateer Porsche driver, won the Porsche Cup, didn't he, last year?
Yes,
so
yeah.
That is already something, but Porsche haven't yet invited him to join, perhaps because he's a gentleman.
I'd like to see that, but he wasn't as quick a few years ago. I think each year he gets better and better, and he's had some really awesome runs. He's really showed people that he is a force to reckon with, and I'd like to see Porsche give him a shot.
Well, great commentary on this legendary race yet again, says James W. Thanks for the compliment. We'll slap ourselves on the back, and you can slap yourselves on the back as well. It's super to have you out there. He says he works for Peugeot, so he'd love them to do it, but he also loves the Aston Martins. I think just about everybody loves the Aston Martins. When they're out in the village, the crowd around them is tremendous.
Now, on board here with Emanuele Pirro, a real force of Le Mans. I mean, he's been around for ages, such a charismatic, fun guy, always says the right thing, and so complimentary of France and of this race, and of course has won it many times. So obviously another one I'd love to see him win it again, because I think he's a special person in his own right. He's always happy to deal with the crowd. He's always very complimentary of Audi, and really knows how to take the sport to another level.
A little bit overshadowed by Tom Christensen as well. I mean, Emanuele has been here 11 times.
It's true,
he's won 5.
Yeah,
that's almost 50%.
Exactly.
That is such a huge record.
He's such a good speaker as well.
He is.
He's just faultless in the press conference yesterday, and really giving the general picture as well. I think he's got a career after the drive. When that dries up, he's going to be part of their PR operation. You can be sure of that.
I think this is part of what's kept Emanuele involved for so long. Is he's a really nice person to have for Audi, because he says the right thing. He does a good job in the car. He gets in. He's very consistent. He does a bit of everything.
A little bit of contact there. The 59 car had just been passed, and just nudged into the back of one of the Audis, and well, Alain McNish is on board. Perhaps it was him that got the bump.
First time in this race that McNish has actually become leader. Of course, he's a pit stop out of sync at the moment, but McNish leading here at Le Mans. This is what Audi want it to be, obviously in 23 hours time, don't they?
We've got David Richards waiting for us, Director of Racing at Aston Martin. This should be good.
Really fast. How are you going to manage to push them?
Well, we're holding about the same pace. If you look now, they got away a bit at the beginning, all the pit stops. They're 25 seconds in front now with the two cars, but we're holding the same pace as them at the moment, and it's a long way to go, another 23 hours.
For sure. What's going to be the strategy? Are you going to push hard until you pass over?
Well, you know, with only 30 seconds between the cars, this is a race for 24 hours. It's not going to be won in the first 1 or 2 hours, but you just need a steady progress. We've got great drivers in all the cars, so we're looking forward to it. It'll come, the night will come, and tomorrow morning we'll see what happens.
Thank you. So I come back tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
We will be back tomorrow morning. We're hoping to get Dave Richards up in the commentary position as well. It's always good for a quote, always happy to share his thoughts.
Yeah, and of course, ProDrive sort of doubly on firing on two barrels this year with not only the GT1 cars that David was just talking about, but that Charouz Lola Aston Martin engine car. We haven't seen it for a while, we haven't talked about it for a while. It has actually lost the petrol lead, Carlton. It's got behind Bouillon at the moment. Bouillon in the Pescarola got himself into 7th place overall. But Booker still hanging on in there, and they've put in some very quick times. They have done a 2:29 there. But interesting, watching the Peugeots at the top, they're all running on 3:22s regularly now.
They're always, the Pescarolos, ready to pounce, aren't they? He would love to win it as an owner. 2nd place, just not good enough as far as he's concerned. We'll see if the great beard, the Lion Man himself, can get back, or at least help his team get back up there, where of course he was as a driver. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back live in a moment from Le Mans.
Welcome back to Le Mans. We're here on Eurosport, and Alan McNish just completing his 2nd pit stop. He was the race leader until this point, goes back out again, and those Peugeots are going to be 1, 2 and 3 again. I'm Mark Coe, with me Liz Halliday, Carlton Kirby, bringing you all the live coverage throughout the 24 hours of Le Mans together with the rest of our team. There's McNish then getting back out into traffic, and Liz, he hasn't, he's stayed on board of course, so he's triple stinting.
Yeah, I think a lot of these top drivers will triple stint their way through, especially on a day like today. It's not that hot. You know, this is definitely a circuit where you can do a lot of stints because you have so many straights where you can have a bit of a deep breath and, you know, have a rest. So certainly we'll see a lot of these top drivers doing 3 stints.
Now, that's interesting you're saying about that, because of course the 3 Peugeots have all changed drivers, and they're coupes.
That's true. There's definitely going to be a lot hotter in there. I mean, a lot hotter. There's a serious advantage as far as temperature goes by being in a car without a roof, and I personally much prefer it. So yeah, that could be part of an issue, or maybe it was just their plan all along, get all the drivers in and then carry on with some longer stints. That's what a lot of teams will do.
Now, despite the caption, this is our new leader, Stefan Sarazan. He is now on board the car. He put on pole position for the 2nd consecutive year. Distinctive helmet there, and Stefan, he's going to try and drop that time down to 3:20, I'm sure. Look for him putting a quick lap in, fastest lap of the race, perhaps before conditions might change.
And Stefan Sarazan, of course, was a fantastic driver in the Aston Martin back a couple of years ago, and moved quite smoothly into this Peugeot. So really a force to reckon with in any car, I think, and it's nice to see him here back on pole again for 2nd year in a row.
And again, a Formula 1 driver of the past, but only 1 Grand Prix, and it was the Grand Prix as that, the Brazilian Grand Prix in 1999, when he rolled the Prost at the final corner coming onto the top straight there, and that was his one and only appearance. For some reason, he wasn't invited back again.
Well, certainly he stepped into sports car racing with a bit of panache, so there's not been any problem there for his career.
We've all been impressed. Christian Klein in 2nd, and Jacques Villeneuve in 3rd. And we're just hearing...
Yes, it's the 83 Ferrari has abandoned due to an accident. I'm just wondering, actually, whether that Rizzi Competizione car, it was the green car, Green Liberty, was it Krone Racing? I think it was. Tracy Krone, the team owner. They have abandoned, we are hearing. It must be deep into the course here. Maybe it was one of those cars that we saw that they static on the road, just nosed into part of the concrete area. But it has abandoned the 83 car, we are hearing.
Yeah, Dick Johnson started that car. Tracy Cronin certainly crashed it here last Sunday and put himself in hospital for a short time. Luckily he's able to fly home the following morning, but did a lot of damage to the car. It was sent back to Michelotto in Italy. It was rebuilt, came back here, but sadly its race is over.
Well, we're looking at the 20 car, the Epsilon machine. That was the one that was always going to be here, and the 32 as well, which is always terrific to see. Incidentally, we won't use the marker of doom on our wallboard yet on the 83 car until we've got double confirmation, but we're hearing initial reports that the 83 car has pulled out. Real blow for Rizzi Competizione, and a real blow as well for the scrap in GT2.
Yeah, and very, very early on. It's always extremely disappointing to have it happen this early on, to be out of the race. I mean, in a 24-hour race, to be out after, well, less than an hour, well, no, an hour and a half, sorry, is really disappointing. And, you know, sadly, probably none of the drivers have been in aside from the one who started. And, you know, this is why a lot of teams sometimes try and cycle all their drivers through. They try and get a stint in so that everybody gets a chance to get in the car, and then they move through to double stints. And, you know, just because these things can happen.
Yeah, we've got a question in from Mr. Formula One on the forum. Says, just how fast would a Formula One car go around this circuit? Probably around about Peugeot pace, I reckon. What do you...
Oh yeah, perhaps a little bit quicker. Just a little bit. But no, I'm not sure, but it's going to be very, very fast.
I wonder if they'll ever put one on here just to test it out. I don't think the ACO would actually allow it. They wouldn't want that kind of thing sort of badging themselves up as being a slower vehicle, perhaps. But the question is, would a Formula One car be able to last the 24 hours? And the answer to that is definitely not.
Yeah, I think that would be a feat of nature in itself, personally.
Absolutely.
But yeah, there you go. Formula One 24-hour race. There's our feature.
Forget it. It's not going to happen.
Well, remember that British American Racing took their Honda-powered Formula One car to the Utah Salt Flats to try and get the all-time record. They only broke 300 kilometres an hour and gave up at that point. Well, as you know, we've seen the Peugeots here at 344. We've seen Formula One cars going quicker on other circuits, Monza and Spa, but quite interesting. When they try to do straight-line driving, they just don't seem to be able to hack it.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Jaguar Ash says we should start a campaign to get Jaguar back here. Well, they're around. I have to tell you, Jaguar Ash. Thanks for your call. Jaguar heavily part of the proceedings around the village here. We're not just talking. They're not just here for the barbecue. That's for sure. They have plans for the future, and well, we're looking forward to finding out exactly what it's about. The late David Leslie, it does tie in with him. He was busy testing a car that we believe could well have been a future contender here at Le Mans.
Oh yes, very much so. Yeah, the car's racing, of course, in the FIGT now, and it's already starting to show some good form, but if that could become an official factory entry, great. Incidentally, looking at LMP2, they're moving up the order, 13th and 14th now. Those two cars, the Dutch car and the Danish car, tied together still. I mean, after an hour and a half's racing, there's still only 2 seconds together. Frank Bieler, he's just got out of the number one Audi, and
we're just moving towards him with our camera, edging ever so slightly nearer and nearer. He's not looking best happy. I'm sure he'll be sparing us a few smiles, but it's the number one, don't forget, the Audi that Frank has just got out of. It must be a difficult time for him. I can't wait to find out his comments on a day like this when Peugeot 1, 2 and 3, and incidentally lapping the fastest has just been set by Sarrazin, 3:21.872. He's gone he's just nudging towards that magical 3:20 mark here. That's a tremendous blast around. Yep, he is out there on top. And nobody is close to him, not even his colleagues. A full second slower is Klein, and Villeneuve is just in the warm-up mode at the moment on board the 7th car, and he's running in 3rd place. As for the Audis, well, their best time so far, Alan McNish, 3:25.5 seconds, 3:25.5, and well, that's a country mile really, or it will be by the time this race unfolds, if they have got the fuel mileage on board with Emanuele Pirro. Let's speak to Frank Bieler though and get his thoughts on the difference between these two great marks here.
Frank, the first stint looks good. How was it?
It was okay. I'm quite happy. The car is okay. No major problem. I think the grip level is not very good at the moment, so I hope this will develop during the race, and then our car should be even better. But the position is okay. It's a long race, and we are quite happy with what we have at the moment.
There is a fight between you and the other Audi because you just passed 6. Lure just passed you.
Yes, I mean it was good fun. I
he was stuck in traffic, then later on I was stuck in traffic, and so we were changing 2 or 3 times, which was nice, so that doesn't make it too boring then.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. He didn't exactly sound overjoyed, did he? He's kind of taking big breaths before he answered every question. It's not that he doesn't understand the question. It's just, what on earth do you say when people are pointing out essentially a huge gap between yourself and the leaders?
Well, it's especially hard for someone who has won Le Mans, and also, you know, for Audi, who's been such a dominant force here for so long. You know, it's got to be very difficult to be quite a ways back, frankly, off the Peugeot's pace. And yes, you know, he can confidently say it's 24 hours, it's fine, you know, we're doing what we want, but it's still a bit of a blow to your heart, isn't it, when you're, you know, just back off the guys and you want to be up in front.
Yeah, and the other thing, of course, we're not sure Frank will be continuing after Le Mans because his contract isn't being renewed past Le Mans, and a lot depends on how he does this weekend, I guess.
Yes, exactly. So,
Liz, we just talked about triple stinting. McNish is the only one of the 3 Audi drivers to have done it because Lure took over from Rockenfeller and Pirro took over from Biela, but Alan has stayed in the car. Does this suggest he's got more stamina, better fitness?
well, Alan tends to always stay in the car for quite a long time. He's always been that sort of driver that gets in and does a triple. He does that in the ALMS as well a lot of the time, really stays in for long stints. So I think maybe it's just a decision between team and drivers, and maybe just what everybody's happy with, and may have even been an issue where they've said, you know, Alan, if you're happy to stay in for 3, then stay in. And he's very, very fit. Like I say, he's always been a driver who tends to stay in the car for a long period of time, and to be honest, if you're putting the times in and you're consistent and doing a good job, there's no point to get out if you're happy to stay in.
Thanks to Freddie Kay. He throws up a poser. He says he's seen pictures of the R15 lying around on the web. I think that's probably somebody's imagination. The word is that Audi may well start thinking about using a different class vehicle out there, Mark.
Yeah, this is a German magazine who came up with this sort of photo montage, built a car from computer graphics, and then sprung a surprise, said that this is the new Audi. It doesn't actually exist. It's only virtual in this German magazine's mind.
We're thinking they may well start thinking about GT1 or the rest.
Of course.
Your thoughts, Mark?
They may be near the truth, of course. The word at the moment is that they would use the R8 as a coupe basis for a coupe in LMP1, of course. Not a,
Which should be very exciting.
It's the RS4 that everyone's pointing to, saying this could be the next GT1 car.
Yeah, absolutely. So RS4 running in GT1, the R8 running in the top class, kind of a la McLaren a few years ago. That would be fascinating, wouldn't it?
And of course, Aston Martin are working towards an LMP2 engined car for next year, so they've got coverage in all 4 classes. I mean, Dave Richards hasn't denied that. So
It's not a real shock though, because you've seen the impressive comeback of a Porsche LMP car, and I think a lot of people have seen Porsche winning in GT2, they've seen them winning in LMP2. It'd be nice to sort of take over that side of things, you know, with some other manufacturers as well. It'd be great to have a fight between, you know, some previous only LMP or GT, you know, up against each other in another class. I think it'd be exciting and sort of open things up a bit more.
It's amazing how minds are just focused when it comes to all of the different classes here, and the word is as well that Aston Martin would like to be dominant in all of the classes, and why not indeed? Porsche have played the game so successfully throughout every single one of the classes, and just loving exactly that. Just the competition within that band is what it's all about. We're going to take ourselves a short commercial break. There will be a few chops and changes of personnel as we go through the day, but we will be staying live, sort of flitting between our various Eurosport channels. So if ever you do lose the pictures, just go back to your menu and make sure you check out what's being shown on the other Eurosport channels. We will be live throughout this race, don't forget that. Welcome back. Another smooth stop at Aston Martin. One of the golf carts just coming out. Beautiful, beautiful sight. Looks like he's all on his own here. Nice bit of clear track as he heads up towards the Dunlop curbs. Thanks to everybody on the website. If you'd like to join the conversation, it's eurosport.yahoo.co.uk. Go to the message boards, hit Motorsport, find Le Mans. It's Le Mans. It's the Race Weekend Live. Race Weekend Live is the thread, and there's an awful lot of fans who just love this stuff just as you do. Incidentally, those side lights that you just got a view of there, the green lights lit up, all 3 of them on this car, the 009 car, which shows that it is 3rd in class at the moment. 3rd in class for 009. It did pit off 2nd.
We've been talking about coupes this afternoon. For LMP2, good news for the Speedy Racing team. Xavier Pompidou's moved himself up into third in class. He's now in the top 18. The other two cars, the two Porsches of Verstappen and Elgard, they are 13th and 14th. But again, coupes starting to make their mark here. And this car we're looking at the moment, Antonio Garcia, he came into the pits and he actually jumped Oliver Berretta's Corvette when they came out. So we believe that that car at the end of his lap is going to be in second place.
And of course, fantastic for Antonio to get his shot in the works car at this Le Mans. I've shared a car with him. He's a great guy, amazing Aston driver, really a lot of skill, and I think it's thrilling for him to have been involved in the works Aston opportunity this time around.
Well, David Brabham had just closed down and on Ollie Gavin's tail, and then finally managed, we say, when they handed the cars over, able to jump that car. Olivier Berretta's now taken over from Ollie Gavin. So at the moment, Magnussen, Garcia and Berretta appear to be our top three, but Magnussen, we're not sure what he's doing at the moment because he's been shown he's no pit stops, which is quite untrue. We know he's had two. Wendling has only had one. We're waiting for that Aston Martin to come in. But up top, Sarrazin, Klein and Villeneuve. Situation normal for Peugeot.
Absolutely, Villeneuve just happy to pace it round there, and he's enjoying it as well. Last lap of 3:27.182, not the quickest for that car, but he's coming up to speed now, and he's going through several speed guns at the back of the track and looking happy. Conor Ray says, what happened to the Lambo? I can tell you, Conor, the 55 machine has still got the back end off, and they don't look in any kind of hurry from what we can see. It's kind of diagonally across from our commentary position, and I'm hoping it's not terminal. Another Lambo bad luck story at Le Mans itself. That would be a heartbreaker after the J-Lock boys just packed up and went home last year.
We haven't even warmed up the Marquis of Doom yet. I mean, it's too early.
Well, we think we've got one car already gone. That's the 83 Rizzi Ferrari, declared at an end and withdrawn, but haven't got officially that just yet.
Magnussen brings in the lead Corvette, the 63 car. They jump on the car, they've got tyres, fuel, and there'll be a driver change. There we go.
Well, that's that, but the pictures you're watching are the Peugeot just plying its trade absolutely brilliantly up to the Dunlop curves, and really, just look at that. How smooth does that look? Almost looks like a training run. Believe me, anything but. The number 8 car just went round in 3:22.025. It's actually pacing its best lap for 3:21, sub to 3:22, don't forget, during the race. It would have been more than good enough for pole last time by. There's the 7 car in the hands of Jacques Villeneuve, and his pace is starting to rise as well. A little bit of traffic last time by, slowed him down, but solidly in third place. Alain McNish, the best of the Audis at the moment, and the Porsches, the Aura Spiders, have just been split for the time being. Escarola of Gregoire is just between them, with Elgard and Verstappen running in second place at the moment. They've been kind of swapping positions, almost pacing each other at the top of the LMP2 standings.
A super pit stop for the Corvette team. They got that car with Johnny O'Connell out so quickly. They're still in the lead, and right behind him, Carl Wendling has brought the second of the Gulf Astons in. That's the 007 car. He's just had a quick stop as well. Fuel and tyres, and who's taking over for Wendling? Let's see, they've all done 2 stints now as he goes past the transponder. It's not changing at the moment. Has he stayed on board?
I think possibly he has. I didn't see a driver change go on there, but we weren't paying attention. Oh, okay, fair enough.
Pacini's on board, so
just looking at some of the loose wires which are look to be attached to where just below the windscreen wiper. There's rather an incongruous knot in the wires there. Slightly, it looks a lot cleaner on board this Peugeot, I can tell you that much. So yeah, that's the sister car actually. Klein just taking a little bit of a drink. Yeah,
he's sucking his thumb.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Just releasing the valve there to give himself a little toot of something wet, and he'll be pleased about that, and they'll be pleased as well about the progress that they're making out there. Peugeot looking so dominant, Mark. Yeah. It comes back to the age-old question about distance. Oh, there's a spinner, and
there's debris in the circuit as well, so it looks like there's been contact.
Been in the wall, and he's so lucky it's happened just here, but maybe it was slowing down to come in. It's the 12 car, and he's got damage at the back end. Charoux Racing Systems, and it's muscle milk, and well, he's muscled himself into the Armco there, and that's a shame. And he's not alone. There's been contact clearly And just zooming over, well, unfortunately we just switched away from it, and this looks,
Smoke
I'm
coming up
hoping that's
back.
tyre rub, but it may well be something mechanical at the back now.
That car running in 23rd place. We think it might be Greg Pickett on board. Perhaps you can recognise his helmet, Liz.
Oh, I'm not sure, but I know he did start the race. Definitely, this is his first Le Mans as well. An exciting opportunity for the ex-Trans Am driver. But we're not really sure what happened
it's
there.
come up as grass.
Okay. Not sure what happened there. It's, you know, possibly maybe he actually slowed down to come into the pits and there was a bit of a misunderstanding there.
Yeah.
He may well
Hard
have
to
picked
say.
up debris from another car.
Possibly, yeah, it's very possible.
Itself. There is one out there. We still
Or
haven't
he
got
may
a
have
picture
just
on it yet.
had an accident, he's gone over its debris, and yeah, that's possible.
Mark's just sifting through, trying to see if we've got another closer picture of it. Does that look like it's the
Looks like
41
there's
car?
the front end missing off that car, so it's been quite a big impact, it looks like.
That's the Zytek of Karim Ojay, the man who crashed on the 19th hour last year when heading for a podium finish.
What a shame.
Dear.
Unfortunately, this is, like we say, not the first time this sort of thing has happened to Karim at Le Mans. I hate to say that, but you know, he has had the odd record of having an accident at Le Mans. So I sincerely hope that this was not something that was his fault. But very early on to be having an accident such as that.
Yeah, this is the car, of course, his mother bought. So owned by Mrs. Ojay.
Mommy won't be pleased.
Mrs. won't be pleased. Let's take a look at this now. That was late on, and I think they both were involved.
Yeah, there was contact there.
That was the end of a spin caused by contact, by the looks of things. They're just changing the wheels over before they actually do anything. Deal with the back, check it properly. Now that they've done that, well, we've got to put them back on, fellas, if you're going to put it back in the garage.
Well, they're not worried about it enough to push the car into the garage, are they?
Look, they're not going to go out with that.
He may, yeah.
Finally, the covers comes off the back. We're going to have a word with Jan Magnussen in just a moment from the Corvette 63 car, the lead car. Connell's pedaling that one brilliant at the moment. Class lead, but significantly marked. The Astons are starting to creep up.
This has been the lucky car on the LMS this year. This is one that's had all the luck, all the wins, whereas the Ollies haven't. Let's hear what he's got to say.
Very good start. Still leading. Easy start.
Oh, it's not so easy. Conditions are a little bit different than when we had qualifying. So the setup of the car right now is not so good. But I think when the track starts to grip up, will be better for us. But right now we're hanging on a little bit. But everybody's just trying to settle down their pace, and I think that's what we're doing now. It'll be okay, I'm sure.
The Aston Martin are pushing really hard. They are now second, just behind you. How are you gonna manage?
Well, you know, it's early. But I don't mind if they lead for an hour or two in the beginning of the race, as long as we lead at the end.
Thank you, Jan.
Thank you.
Well, Doug says he doesn't care just for the time being, as long as they lead at the end. Well, that's the trick, quite frankly.
Carlton, while that's been going on, fabulous action in the pits that we haven't seen on the screen. Johannes van Overbeek came in still leading GT2, followed in by Jamie Mello. They got out again. Van Overbeek still in the lead, but the interesting thing, Mika Salo's taken over the car, and they went out almost together. So in that case, there's a driver change. Didn't take any longer than not changing a driver.
Well, let's be honest, this team is very, very polished. Mika and Jamie have driven for a long time together now, and, you know, a couple of years, maybe even 3 years now. So certainly I would expect their pit stops to be absolutely polished to perfection. So I'm not surprised that they've been that quick.
Now Johannes has got an hour of running under him, so he's familiar with the track now. The continuity's there. Mika's just got to learn the conditions, hasn't he, for the first lap or two. So is that going to give Johannes just the racer's edge for a while?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Mika Salo's very, very quick to get right on the pace. I mean, he's always been that sort of driver. You know, he's bang on his best time straight away. So I don't think it's going to be that big of a difference, to be honest. And, you know, I think his outlap been quicker so far.
Well, we won't know yet.
Yeah, we'll see. But no, I don't think there's going to be much advantage when you're talking about a driver like Mika Salo. I think it's hard to find any advantage over him.
Certainly is. We're going to have a few personnel changes right here. We've got Jeremy Shaw just coming into the hot seat in just a few moments' time. We've got the Spikers as well. They're in the pits. It's nice and calm, I have to say. No hurry about them at all. Well, you don't want it that calm, fellas. I'm just wondering, actually, we spoke to Peter Dunbreck. We mentioned it during the warm-up this morning. Peter Dunbreck has just been saying that the car has taken a step forward, but unfortunately for them, everyone else has as well, and that is a huge shame. Aston Martin and the 10 car, oh my life, it's all gone terribly wrong for them.
That is a big accident as well.
Hooker is there. The 41 car, incidentally, has lost a wheel and just is beached, can't move anywhere, and that's a big one. It's a big one, and that is a huge shame. Charouz Racing Systems, and they're saying shut it down, stop trying to drive it out. You're not going to get back to the pits, you're going to have to be dragged out. And there it is. Just trying to see which Indy hit first, back end, and it's the expensive part, unfortunately. And this is a sad thing to see, sad indeed. Liz, a heartbreaker when you're back waiting to go in. They were just actually heading back to make that change, and you know. If you don't get to drive and you're actually waiting, you're all keyed up, you've done all the training, you've done everything as well, that must be more disappointing even than for the mechanics who've got to deal with this.
Yeah, I mean that's the worst fear for any driver, is that you're going to come all the way to Le Mans and not get a chance to drive at all. You know, and especially I think he's gone off there at the Dunlop chicane, it looked like, which is that's a tricky area. That's a place where a lot of people have lost it and crashed at high speed, and it is very, it's a bit bumpy under braking, and it's a bit polished, and it's very easy to lock the rear wheels there under braking, and I'm thinking that perhaps that's happened. He's just overcooked it a little bit, and then it's fired it off backwards. But yeah, really, really unfortunate this early on, because the mechanics have done all the work, the drivers are here to do their job, and either you've not driven at all or you've done very little, and it's all over and done with before the night's even set.
It's a real shame, and of course going off in that area as well, the marshals certainly aren't going to let you come back into a chicane. It's a very, very busy place, isn't it? You can't get a proper view either at that point.
It is, and unfortunately a lot of it comes down to where you end up when you've had a spin or a crash like that. Sometimes people can be lucky, you can end up facing just so that you can actually sort of get the car back out again, but a lot of times the marshals will just stop you. It depends what sort of safety zone you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. You also saw the 41 training performance machine, the Zytec 07S, and Karim OJ, who's just lost the front end, just detached wheel, and it really did look snapped off as well. There's going to be all kinds of suspension issues, and the Peugeot number 8 is coming into the pits as well. We'll be having a look at that in a moment, and the roar of the cars as they come by. We may well try and get an interview for you down there as well, as we welcome Jeremy Shaw. Jeremy, it's been amazing so far. So much has gone on.
Yeah, no real surprises, I don't think. From my perspective, the Peugeots, they were the class of the field in qualifying. They've maintained that form in the race. The Audis have been running well, but just not well enough in terms of outright pace, of course. So it's very, very early stages in this race. But the picture hasn't changed, and that is the order. It's the turbo diesels way out in front, and as you were just saying, it's really sad to see that Lola Aston having that problem.
It certainly is. We were hoping that was going to be one of the lead petrol cars, and maybe even just dice it a little bit to unseat one of the diesels. It did that in qualification, but it's a heartbreaker for them for now. Let's just hope it's fixable and they can get back out there. You wouldn't want to wish any ill on anybody, least of all that crew. We'll be back after this short break. Stay with us live here. Welcome back. We've just seen Speedy Racing being attended to in the pits, and it goes on as well. The Peugeots seem to be coming in thick and fast, certainly more frequently than the Audis. Oh dear, Muscle Milk's got it wrong yet again. They'd had their problems earlier on and clearly gone back out, just hoping that everything was all right. I think it's rear suspension.
It's possible. I mean, he's just had another spin, possibly caused from that accident earlier. He did get hit behind, it looked like, so that can cause problems that you then have to deal with onward through the race. So it's hard to say without us seeing what's happened. You never know, but it's definitely possible there's something going on in there.
I was surprised, Jeremy, that they sent it out so early. It looked like a very rudimentary check, and they were kind of testing it on track, which you can do, but it's not a wise thing.
No, they'd have given it a good look over, and I mean, it could be just something as simple as cold tyres. I mean, I'm sure they would have changed tyres when he came into the pits, but there's another car limping around.
It's the 10 car making its way back.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, it stopped, arrived at a dangerous position in the middle of a chicane. They wouldn't let it go initially. They dragged it to a safer zone, and they've just let it go.
damaged front and rear though on that car.
Bits of bodywork just flying off as
There you
well.
go.
That's dangerous, and they've got huge tyre up, and he's getting into a safe zone here. I don't think he's if he tries to go any further, they'd have few words here. And what's happened to the front end? Is he
Is there's a lot of damage there. I mean, that's bodywork is about to completely fall off.
Yeah, exactly.
Along with the front nose as well.
Yeah, if you're limping along, you're limping along in these cars. It feels like you're hardly moving. It sort of even if it's only 50 or 60 miles an hour, that's enough to throw the bodywork all over the place. Look at that,
Mr. Lizards.
Good grief!
Oh, what a shame.
The 80 car has come an awful long way to join this party, and it looks like it might be, well, interrupted at the very best. You never know.
It looks like that is Seth Neiman on board, unfortunately. And Seth, who's been a regular driver in this car, but, you know, perhaps a bit less experienced than the other two that are in it. But a real shame for him. You know, he loves Le Mans, and, you know, he usually does a very good job. So it'll be interesting to see what's happened there.
Well, it is reparable, but it's just how much time you've got. This 99 car had its troubles. The back end was completely mashed in qualifying, and they had an Arnage in testing as well. 66 and 80, those are the ones we've seen, and there is the collision between them, and well, just getting the better of each other, unfortunately, and the barrier's doing a great scraping job on that rather attractive, before a few moments ago, Lizard machine.
That's the two Americans in that case. Patrick Long was on board, I think, the 76 car, wasn't he? It's a performance car, I think, and he'd been doing a fantastic job. Of course, he'd started at the back of the field, was working his way forward, and looks like he got alongside on the inside. Was what it looked like on the end of that picture there. We didn't, of course, see the whole incident take place, but a big disaster for both of those two teams.
Well, Patrick Long would have been a much quicker driver, so it's very possible what he was doing was just trying to go around Seth, and perhaps there was just a bit of misjudgment or misunderstanding between the two. And, you know, unfortunately, these sort of things happen sometimes when you have a pro, you know, mixing it up with the others. It's a tough one on these circuits, you know.
It's also what it's all about, though, isn't it?
It's all about it. Sports car racing.
That's right. The IMSA performance cars, they won this class, of course, 1 year ago, and they had such high expectations coming into this weekend. Porsche's worked so hard on that 997 RSR over the winter. They've really improved the competitiveness compared to the dominant Ferraris, well, everywhere else except for here last year, when of course the Porsche did come through. But it's certainly, you know, the Ferrari was the car to have, everybody thought, going into this year, and they qualified on the pole. Patrick Long did. He had to start from the back, as I think we said earlier on in the show, but he was making his way forward, and that is just it's kind of a factory-backed team. Patrick Long is a factory-backed driver, certainly from Porsche, and they had very, very high expectations. That is an absolute disaster.
So the 76 car in the gravel, and a real shame. The two major contestants here, or two of them, and did so well in qualifying as well, but the Matmut 76 machine looking a bit second-hand. So is that Flying Lizard Motorsport machine. Just getting information through as well that the number 9 car has been called back in. It's got light trouble. Don't forget, that was the one that had front end damage after going into the wall during qualifying. Maybe they just didn't wire it up properly, who knows, but they've been warned to switch them on. Clearly they would have tried, failed to do so, and back in they come.
Well, this is not the first time that Peugeot has had problems with their lighting systems in races before. It seems to be the way they've designed the cars. If there's any damage at all to the front of the car, sometimes the lights can then suffer. And, you know, this has happened in at least 2 other races that I've seen them in. So it's certainly not the first time they've had this issue, but yeah, definitely it could have something to do with the damage they had before.
One of the Luc Alphon cars as well was brought in for a stop-go penalty. We think it was for harrying a member of the GT2 class. Must have been contact, and just a manoeuvre that hampered a lower class vehicle. If you are approaching somebody from a lower class, you better make sure that you get by cleanly, because if you are deemed to harry them and get into contact with them, you will be punished, and that's exactly what has just happened to one of the Luc Alphon machines. They're having a bit of a nightmare discipline-wise. They accidentally called both cars in. I don't know whether it was a radio thumb problem, Jeremy, but they called them in together, and they got into a terrible mess. If it had been in America, they would have been called for it, because wheels were being lost. They were bouncing all around the pit lane, and just that kind of error you do not want, particularly early on.
No, you don't. You need to. You've got to plan everything out in this sort of race. It is so competitive now. You can't afford any mistakes if you want to win the race. And particularly on pit lane, that is a bit embarrassing.
Well, just one of the Audis, the number 1 Audi, in fact, coming in for what is a regular scheduled stop. As we look out again at these gorgeous-looking Porsche RS Spiders and a damaged vehicle as well, still trying to make its way back here.
And that was a Lola Aston still limping around, so he's got it going again, and he's just got to be patient now. He's got no chance of winning the petrol engine class now. I don't think with that long it's cost him already 3 or 4 laps. He's just got to be patient now. They want to get that car back to the pits with causing as little extra damage as possible. Hopefully repair it, and then he can run on from here. And it's really going to become a long test exercise from now. But still, it's a new exercise this year with that Lola Aston Martin. There's somebody else in trouble as well.
Yeah, the 40
That looks like the Quiffle car, the LMP2.
It's a shame for the Quiffle ASM, the Portuguese outfit. Guy Smith, winner in 2003, and it's Guy who's on board now. Believe it or not, had to put his rookie laps in because of the hiatus between his win and now. And come on, he says, give us a bit of space, and of course get me back there so I can get the turn going.
They have had quite a few problems with this car in practice. I was speaking with Guy earlier. I know they had some gear selection issues.
Oh, no.
That was purely just misunderstanding there a little bit, I think.
I think
sort of, I'm going to go and no, I'm
might
not.
have been called for that anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The Corvette's left him. It seemed to leave him room at the apex.
Yeah.
Guy got on the throttle coming out of the corner, and the back end went
Perhaps
around
a bit
him.
ambitious on the brakes, and then a little bit too far in there. And it's a difficult call when you're in a faster car. It is the faster car's responsibility to pass safely, but at the same time, it is difficult when you're up against something. When you're in an LMP2 against a GT1 car, it's very difficult because they're very, very fast, and you have to get them on the brakes.
On board with Johnny O'Connell here, class leader in GT1. It looks nice and comfortable. They've got airco on board, so
They
maybe
look cool as anything whenever you watch them in the car.
Yes, but look at the gap there. That the 009 Aston Martin with Antonio Garcia.
Still
There's Seth
dragging it
Neiman.
round.
Yeah, Seth Neiman trying to lip that flying lizard car back to
Oh,
the
look at that tyre.
A
Oh,
lot of
dear.
damage. Well, I don't know whether it might be just a puncture on the back.
It's crabbing,
isn't it?
It's dragging that tyre along.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely, it's
And
not
there's damage
rolling
to
on
the
its
front
own.
as well, and that's never good news on a Porsche.
No.
No.
Damage
That's where
those
your
radiators.
radiators are, yeah. Exactly.
But that battle in GT1 now is really eating up. We've got the Johnny O'Connell car number 63, the Chevrolet Corvette, out in front, but that 009 Aston Martin has been closing inexorably all the way through. I'd say probably the last hour or so of the race. It's just been getting closer and closer and closer. Initially, it was in third place with, I think it was David Bratton on board, wasn't it? And he was catching the second of the Corvettes right before those pit stops. They changed positions. The Aston moved ahead of the Corvette during that pit stop, and since then, Antonio Garcia has been closing that gap to the GT1 leader.
And don't forget, Antonio this morning did do a 3-minute 50 on the circuit, which is a really impressive time in warm-up. Antonio, a blindingly fast Aston Martin driver.
We saw some
I
very
wouldn't be
quick
surprised
times
if...
there.
Yeah, I think we may even see a lot more from Antonio here. He's inching his times down every lap. I think we could see a 350 pretty soon here, knowing Antonio.
Yeah, his last lap was a 351.610. His best this afternoon so far, a 51.607, just 0.003 of a second between those two laps. So he's doing a great job at the wheel of this car.
Hey guys, McNish is running in second place, and it's starting to unfold the difference in terms of consumption between the vehicles. In fact, I'm just looking down. It's the Lola Judd number 12 has just come in. Almost confused me there. But Alan McNish, yeah, he's really sending it round there as well. Posting regular 325s as well. The last time by was a little bit less than that. He's possibly just running at the end of a run here and waiting for those tyres to be changed. Here he comes then. It's the number 10 car, and it's looking a little bit wounded.
Bit of hesitation there, getting that number 3 car under. Sorry to interrupt you there, Carlton. I was watching out of the window, and the number 3 car came in. The Audi came in for that pit stop, and it didn't pick up cleanly like they normally do, exiting in the pits, did it, Liz?
Yeah.
We've seen that a couple of times so far today, and it's going straight back in the number 10.
Really quite impressive it's made it back at all, to be honest. We didn't see much for a while, but I wonder, did he get out and pull the bodywork off? I mean, that's what sort of the option looked like. That was what was there, because the bodywork is missing now.
Somebody did.
So,
here it is. Well, now then, let's see what he's got here. We've seen, Jeremy, on occasion, drivers really wrestle with the car to bring it in, almost at all costs. I remember one a few years ago where the driver, all he could do was crescents. And he got it back after about an hour and then burst into tears when the team actually retired him. I can't remember the crew.
It's very harrowing. You know, you've worked so hard to get it back and try not to do any more damage to the car. You're just hoping against hope that they're going to be able to get it back out of the fray again. And
well, I think we've all been there once before. That's the thing with 24-hour racing, isn't it? I can certainly say that I've been one to yank pieces of car off and drag it in on 3 wheels before. So I think it's part of 24-hour racing, isn't it? You do everything at all costs to get it going again.
Well, 3 wheels on my wagon just about on the number 80 car as Alamet Nish comes in, looked at speed. I wonder if the Corvette's got speed gunned actually in the pit lane, and maybe that's their drive through, because we didn't actually see what was rumoured to be a harassment of a GT2 car. The number 2 Audi then is in, just trying to see if they're going for a change here.
that has been the last of the 3 Audis to pit on each of the sequences. On the first sequence we saw the car number 1 was the first car in, along with car number 8 and the Peugeots. They both came in on lap 9, and then the following lap the number 9 and the number 7 Peugeot both came in, along with the number 3 Audi, and then the number 2 Audi went all the way to lap 11 on that first stint of this motor race, and has continued that same sequence since then. At number 2 Audi getting at least 1 or 2 laps more than the Peugeots.
And he's staying in. He's decided, Alan, to give it another go. What a dramatic start it was by him as well, just to try and...
still pedal that car. There's no question about that.
I think he's going for the record of the most Le Mans starts, I believe.
He's after Pescarolo's title. I think he got 33.
Yeah, he's not that far off, is he?
He's on 29, so he's got to come back 4 more times to get up there.
He's overtaken, I think, the brilliant Bob Wallach, the late lamented brilliant Bob Wallach. I think he's overtaken him for second in most starts here at Le Mans.
And we're just looking a little bit further down the order just to try and get in touch with the positions. Unfortunately, we've got a bit of a microwave problem at the moment.
And very big news here. Antonio Garcia has just gone into the lead of GT1. As expected, still banging in very quick times. Very exciting for Aston Martin. There'll be a lot of happy people in that camp right now.
There certainly will. The 009 car. It seems the 9 car is the one that has the fortune. That was the one that came out winner last time by 007. Well, despite his exploits all over the place, James Bond at the moment is running in 4th place behind the 2 Corvettes.
Super consistent is Antonio Garcia. You know, a lot of open wheel experience. He had the youngest of the drivers in that car. He's co-driving with David Pratton and Darren Turner, so a massive amount of experience amongst those guys. And Garcia, he's been doing quite a bit of racing in the United States over the last couple of years, mainly in the Rolex Grand Am series.
He raced in the LMS, of course, last year and the year before.
Yep. So, you know, a lot of experience in these cars, and he's creating quite a reputation for himself.
But he's very calculating, very, very switched on driver. You know, very quiet, but really does a good job, really knows what's happening in the car at all times, and is very, you know, calculating in his head. He never takes risks he doesn't need to take, but at the same time really pushes the car right to the limit, which is exactly what you want in a GT1 car like this.
Precisely. Well, we've been blessed with the weather so far, and it looks like the clouds are just starting to thin out a bit. None of them look at all like they are going to burst.
Race leader once again.
And he comes onto his marks. They seem to have been in an awful lot more frequently. I haven't been keeping a lap count, but thankfully Jeremy has.
Yeah, they're coming in sort of about after they made their first pit stop on lap 9, the second pit stop on lap 20. And how many laps have we done now? 38. So it's sort of 9 or 10 laps on a stint of fuel. A little bit early, I would have thought, this pit stop. We've got 38 laps now completed by the Stefan Sauerzen car number 8, the Peugeot, and it's, you know, he's now beginning this 4th round of pit stops.
Well, out goes Stefan, in goes Alexander Wirtz, his first Le Mans effort, the F1 driver. So he's about to do his first stint at Le Mans.
He's been around, he's had his hands full before. I'd be fascinated to see how he goes around here.
Well, I know he was saying he was very, very excited about doing Le Mans as sort of, you know, take on one of the biggest things there is in sports cars. So it'll be exciting to see. I know he was finding it quite tricky to work around the other classes of racing. He had a bit of contact, I believe it was at Spa. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he takes this on.
We're going to have to see, keep an eye on that, because it certainly is early. As I thought,
7 laps only they've done that last stint. We've counted it through. We've been told they've come in early. That's a couple of laps early.
It is.
Which is certainly surprising for a lead car, and I think they were doing some.
To be a bit of concern, and they're lifting up the back.
Well.
Interesting.
Yeah,
it can be beaten by the course.
There you go. You've been running a very, very hot pace in the early stages of this race. The car is going back into the garage.
Wow, this is going to be meat for the feast as far as Audi are concerned. Alain Moniz has stayed out there, and he's pacing it up as well. He's pacing up. He's getting back close to his quickest pace out there. Well, this is about a second and a half.
This is exactly what Audi wants to see. They want to keep carrying on, not necessarily doing the same pace, but they're keeping their reliability.
It's gear selector. Selector.
There you go.
Yeah, gear selector problems, and
well, you can be sure that this car is going to have a manual option. So if it comes to that, if they can fix it, which I reckon they probably will be able to, being Peugeot, they're going to have a lot of backup plans, but they will certainly have a manual option.
That's one of the things they've done over the winter, I think, isn't it? They've got a new quick change rear end on that car, as pioneered by Audi on the R8, the last generation of car before the turbo diesel. And I think that's one of the things that Peugeot's worked on over the winter, isn't it? So if they do have a problem with the transmission on the car, they can change it in, well, as as little as.
But of course,
we'll
it must be legal, because you're not allowed to just take the whole back end off and put it on, obviously. So they must have done something tricky.
Yeah.
But certainly, it will still take a bit of time.
Yeah, crucially, they're following a lot of Audi strategy. They're double stinting their tyres this time by tyre wear, not clearly the issue that it used to be. And this is an awful lot. If it's electrics, then they're in bother. The 9 car has assumed the lead in the hands of Clean. That's the car that had front end damage after straight onning early on in qualification. So wounded vehicles out there, Jeremy, and you know, you get it right when you do the repair, obviously enough. But we were just talking to Liz earlier on, who was saying that it's quite difficult to find the car again once you get that kind of late problem.
Yeah, very interesting, isn't it? There's the car number 24 back on pit lane again. That's the Teramas car. He's made it around. It was a long lap that time. He hasn't got that car back to the pit lane. But I was just looking at the last lap times of the various leading cars. The Peugeots now, they were running sort of 24. 3 minute 24 laps or so thereabouts. They're now running 3 minute 27, 28 or so, and that's about the same pace that the Audis are running. So that's kind of interesting. The first sort of hour and a half of the race, or maybe a little bit more, the Peugeots were running, significantly quicker than the Audis, and now the pace seems to have equalised, perhaps between those two marks.
Well, that'll be fascinating. The Lucar Fonda 72 machine has just entered the pits. They're looking like doing a full and proper stop. They're fighting to get belts off and all the rest of it. Or is it just a bottle change? We'll find out that for you in just a moment's time. We're on board here with the Peugeot. That's the number 8 car in the hands of Sarrazin, I think.
9
in fact, it's the 9 car, yeah, so just misread the number, sorry.
Yep, I think that's the race leader, is Christian Klein there in the lead car, and I'm just saying now that he's as I was talking about the equalisation of lap times, Christian Klein does a 3 minutes 23.049. So,
and we've just had some more bad news for Peugeot as the 7 car comes in. We're hearing that the 9 car has got to come in and to have its lights fixed. It was a front end damage, and it's had this issue earlier on in the race, so they're all in. The 7 car's just coming in as well, and the 9 is going to pit off the lead. What on earth is this going to do? Alain Manish is out there, and he is pushing. He is pushing. We'll have a look in just a few moments' time and see whether he managed to take any kind of advantage. Wow, calling the 9 car in. I hope that's not a mistake, and they were calling in the 7, but they're not looking at the lights on the 7. They were working and functioning. If the 9 car comes in now, that's all the Peugeots in. Wow.
Well, they've taken that opportunity, obviously, to change some drivers. If they've got to come in, they've thought, we're going to make the most of it. We're going to fuel, we're going to change drivers, do all the things that take time. So that's clever thinking by the team. But obviously not ideal. We've just had the 2 leaders brought in all at once. Black flag, it says, for the lights. So certainly it is number 9.
It's confirmed. The number 9 will come in as well as the 7 car goes back out in the hands of Villeneuve. He's away.
No, Jacques just got out of the car, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was Junaid just getting in.
Just way out of my vision momentarily.
Yeah, yes, quite. And here's this battle, the LMP2 battle. The Porsches have been nose to tail for most of the race so far, and they come into the pits again on the same lap. The Essex car, the Danish entered car, is pitted farther towards pit out than is the Van Merchten Motorsports car. But that is a fabulous battle that's been going on all the way through these first 2 hours and so.
So it has been confirmed. They brought it in earlier, the number 9, and they thought it was a loose wire. Clearly sent it back out, and now they've been ordered to come in and change the lights. I suspect they'll change the front bodywork section in one go. We will wait and see on that one. Just looking at the 31 Essex car for the time being. This is tremendous. This is exactly what we were after. Something thrown into the mix. It's what Le Mans does all the time, and you're live here on Eurosport throughout the world. Eurosport World, Eurosport Asia, Eurosport International, British, and of course Eurosport 2 as well. If you suddenly lose pictures, by the way, just check out that it's not appearing on another of your Eurosport channels. Go to the menu and just make sure we haven't lost you, because we may, in the excitement of things, make the switch without remembering to tell you. So forgive us for that.
That LMP2 battle Vettel. The exits car has only just left the pit lane. The Van Merkstein car left, I would say, at least 10 seconds ago. I don't believe there was a change of driver on the Dutch entered car. I think Jos Verstappen stayed on for yet another stint. The other car, the Essex car, however, Casper Elgaard got out of the car, and the very distinctive red and white helmet of John Nielsen is now aboard the car number 31.
And here comes the number 9, just getting all his hoses and his connectors sorted out, and it's one of his lights is out, can't continue. Bin black flag brought in, and it's going to have to be well, there they are. They suddenly muscle into the car. They're going to switch it around and send it to the garage by the looks of things. No, they're going to try and do the work there. They clearly think that 4 men can deal with it. Maybe they're just going to have a go at refueling and changing the wheels before they spin it and push it.
And they are changing the driver, I think, as well, aren't they, on that car?
Well, we're clearly moving in to try and get some kind of interview. We're having our heads wowed off here, so pardon us for the hiatus momentarily in commentary. But the number 10 car's looking a little bit refreshed. Front end goes off. Well, 4 men can deal with it. Around they come. This is great for the quick change, and the camera zooms in nice and handily to show us the gubbins, which is what we're after. So the number 10 car makes it. Charouz Racing System has flown the nest, and it looks like it's back up. And well, will it be back up to speed? Let's hope so, because the Lola Aston Martin, the Charouz Racing Systems, was exactly what we were hoping to challenge these diesel cars.
It seems to be absolutely pristine, that car was left a bit late. It looked absolutely pristine, didn't it?
Yeah, that was a very, very quick change for that team. I mean, that car was really suffering a lot of damage, and they managed to come in and fix it in such a short period of time. That's a real credit to that team.
It certainly is absolutely remarkable job. Meanwhile, there's another spinner there. That's one of the Pescarolo cars.
That is the number 16 car.
Jean-Christophe Bouillon has been leading that class for a long way.
Looks like he got tapped by the Scudi Epsilon car, I believe.
I think he was already out of control when he got tapped. And that looks bad.
Emmanuel Collard aboard now, and they were leading the petrol engine class. They're running in 7th place overall, a couple of laps down to the race leaders. As we see now, that was the Peugeot of Christian Klien having handed over to Marc Gené, was it?
Really a huge amount of action here early on in this Le Mans 24 hours. I mean, we're only about 2.5 hours into the race. We've seen so many accidents and offs and spins and contacts, and it's really a lot of action this early on in a 24-hour race.
Quite frankly, I'm dreading the highlights package, which is going to come up in just a moment's time, because going to be calling that is like trying to read spaghetti.
Makes you wonder if the night's going to be really boring now that everyone's getting it out of the way.
It is, for goodness sake, be careful out there. Backing into traffic, not the best idea. Caught it, and he's going to bring it in. He'll just give it a little shimmy and see how he's set out there, but an inspection at least.
Chances are very good that his tyres will have suffered some damage from that.
Got to go round again. He's missed the pit lane
Very unfortunate location there.
I think the incident took place after the pit lane entrance down there, I think, didn't it? So
yeah, it did. You're right. So really bad place for something like that to happen, because then you're going to have to go around the whole lap on possibly a set of flat spotted tyres.
Well, everyone who's been on the web and has been on the message boards, thanks for your company. So sorry that we haven't been getting to you over the last couple of minutes, but so much has been happening. I think we've probably had a gap of about an hour. We will be having a chat to you after the next break, so thanks for staying with us, bearing with us, and well, enjoying it. I'm sure if you're enjoying it as much as we are, you're having a party. The gold car really limping its way in here, the number 14 Creation, and that's a sad side as well. They've had a rough time, and not least, of course, Stuart Hall, who was given the opening stint in this one as a kind of a pat on the back. It wasn't your fault, don't worry about it too badly. Puncture at the rear, but thankfully in a lot better shape than it was after qualification. In he comes, getting on his marks. Everybody ready to deal with this one, and
this will be a driver change as well, I would have thought.
Didn't look too bad, does it?
No, I think he's been very smart there to just keep the car quiet. That's the trouble when you get a puncture like that on circuit. It's very tempting to go too fast, but in a race car like this, you're very likely of just ripping body parts, body work off.
We've seen so
all
often,
sorts of damage, and it's just from being a little bit too keen. Just need to knock it off that extra few mile an hour and just accept that it's a long way around Le Mans, but it's more important than having the car in the garage.
Can whip itself to death, these vehicles.
Exactly.
And there goes Alan McNish. He comes past the pits now, so he has taken the lead of the race.
Alan! He's there. Fantastic. We're going to be taking ourselves a short commercial break. Just time to tell you it's eurosport.yahoo.co.uk. Go to the message boards, hit motorsport, find Le Mans, and you'll have today's thread, as signed by myself. Feeling a bit sort of techno-able today, which isn't bad. So we look forward to having a chat with you in just a moment's time. But the great news, as far as all Scottish fans are concerned, is that Alan McNish is the leader. Audi are cheering down there. Back in a moment.